Ladies, we have to talk. Our men are leaving, they truly are. We've pushed too far, we asked too much of them, and now they are leaving. The best of them, the best of them are leaving. So who's going to provide for us? Because I don't want to work. Who's going to build buildings and bridges to go from one place to another? Who's going to lift us up when we faint? Because it happens all the time. Who's going to go to war? Not the soy boys, not me. Ladies, our men, real men, build this nation, and we complain about having to clean the kitchen and period pains. Like, what is wrong with us?
Can you sense the sarcasm? That's great, because I'm nothing but sarcasm. Welcome back to the Man Cave on the beach. I am your host, you know who, Black Irish. TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, all the wonderful people all over the world. Men, shout out. Let's listen to this lovely lady. She's going to talk about the passport brizzos. Shall we?
Let the games begin.
I want to say to the men watching this, we need you. Please stay. Bonjour, my name is Alice, welcome back to my channel. Let me just start by saying that no, Western women aren't afraid of lame dudes leaving to find traditional women abroad. That's
You sure about that?
what passport bros are. I mean, seriously, what motivates you?
I love that they always use this guy, and like you can already tell what type of woman you're dealing with when they use 90 Day Fiance. It's almost as if women only see the world through a television, through cable access television, or programming that is just supposed to, that says quote unquote reality, but isn't reality because everyone reads the script. So they pick this moron who basically everyone knows is a moron and does the moron things. He's there to get views, and well, that's about it.
To leave your country, your friends, your family? Is that you're too scared of independent women?
He's absolutely right.
You want someone who is dependent on you and serve you like your mom?
They love the whole serve you like your mom. They love the whole you're scared. When women don't have a real argument, it's you must be scared of a woman who did education and everything else. No, there are plenty of women with education. Now, don't get me wrong. There's some dumb guys who look good and who basically don't know how to talk to women. Yeah, that's true. But the honest truth is, no man has ever in the history of mankind been scared of a woman's accomplishments. This shows you that women have absolutely no idea, at least modern day women, what the hell men are about, what they want, and what's up. They really don't. And for starters, let's just finish this off. No, nobody wants a mother any more than you want a daddy. Even though you ask for things just like daddy's little girl. You want him to buy you stuff. You want him to take you out to dinner. You want him to do all these other stuff while you just sit there and do absolutely nothing. That sounds more like you want a father figure than a man that wants a wife. A man wants a wife that does these things, X, Y, and Z. And I, as a man, do ABC. You see how that works?
You want a second mom, Joey? I mean, grow up, goddammit. I wish I could say, please do go away, but it also annoys me to think that foreign women will potentially have to deal with these dudes, you know, the Myron Gaines type from Fashion Fit, who also threatened once to go find a woman abroad. I thought that had...
The honest truth is Myron Gaines actually trash talks about the Passport Bros because they see that as just being weak instead of dealing with the nonsense and all these women. Find a way to get the game in, yo. You gotta know what you gotta do, yo. That's Myron Games. He will once in a blue moon say it to make a point, but other than that, he actually doesn't respect Passport Bros. Bad example, honey. At least we know you did your research.
To say that because as I was researching for this video, I kept on
You like the Hawaiian shirt?
hearing the same argument, you know, like Western women are scared, men are gonna fly away to different countries. and just leave them all alone. And to
They are scared. That's why they don't. That's why they're making these videos to counteract Passport Bros talking about what they're doing in the first place. If I didn't care about some woman that's beneath me, I wouldn't give a crap. I'd be too busy going after women hotter than her.
be honest, I'd rather stay single with a bunch of cats than having to date someone like Myron Gaines, but that's not the topic of the video. Anyway, let's talk
Myron
about the serious
Gaines.
stuff. Passport Bros are at the intersection of various phenomena. The first one is the digital nomad movement, which grew thanks to the development of the internet, the World Wide Web. Being a digital nomad means that you have built a business online that allows you to travel the world, to live abroad, and eventually pay lower taxes or outsource some of your work. The trend was born
Smart thing
with
to
the
me.
release of Tim Ferriss' 4-Hour Work Week. It's a book that explains how to go from scratch, really, how to build your business online and how to eventually enjoy life in cheap, warm countries with all the money you've made. Part of the appeal of the Passport Bros trend is exactly that. They showcase a world that looks like non-stop holiday while you are stuck at uni or working a boring 9-to-5 job.
Just gives you a little bit of an idea of what you could be doing instead of wasting your time in the States paying extremely large amount of taxes to pay for some debt that the country made for itself. Yeah, I would 100% do it if I could find the right career that I could take online and do it overseas. I would take me and my wife and son all the way to DR. Is it going to be here anymore? This country's going to hell.
So that's the first element I see. The second element is obviously the traditional wife aspect. Passport Bros claim that they are fed up with picky, demanding Western women, that feminism has corrupted them, that they want the cake, so a provider, and eat it, so not be submissive. Now, it is true that there is a very long history of Western men going to
Well, I'll tell you what happened. And let's about the black community. The black community was destroyed by that same feminism, which is hilarious because it was the same group of women who didn't like those women, who then came around the end of the 60s, encouraged them to turn against their own men. Make that make sense. So yes, it's a cancer as far as I'm concerned.
foreign countries like Colombia, the Philippines, or former colonies to have sex, date or marry a foreign woman. Those men took advantage of their privilege, their power as Westerners to appear more attractive to foreign women who were taught to see them as the colonizer, therefore as a figure of power, authority, someone who is inherently superior to her. To marry a Westerner was a form of social climbing.
Well, I hate to break it to you, but men are supposed to be superior to women. That's what attracts women. They don't want someone that's at their level, and they sure as hell don't want a man that's beneath them. They can talk all the crap they want, but they respect status. Stop acting like, oh, I forgot you're a feminist. Never mind. You wouldn't understand with your little feminist brain.
Because it was prestigious, because it meant stability. On the other hand, some Western men reported finding foreign women more attractive for various reasons. Famous French actor Vincent Cassel once said in an interview in 2011 that he was in his jungle fever era. He was only attracted by, quote, black or mixed race women. Then he says, I was specialized in Asian women and then Parisian Arab women. And he adds as a sort of self-reflection that he realized that when you're too specific, you don't really care about the person. Wise words, Vincent. Can we call that progress? Famous French singer Serge Gainsbourg, who was known for dating very young, docile, attractive women like Jane Birkin and Caroline von Paulus, half Vietnamese, half Chinese, who he nicknamed Bamboo, and he also encouraged her to make her own album titled Made in China.
Well, it's because men want docile women. They don't want women that are all over the place. Women that are all over the place, you can't control. I sure as hell don't want that. They have no control whatsoever, and when they're given that freedom to say you can do whatever you want, it's insane. I want a woman that's docile and relaxed. You don't want two negatives. I want a positive and a negative.
In case you didn't know, France occupied Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia until 1954, and there was this sort of weird fascination with Asian women, often described as dolls. In Lotus, Madame Chrysanthème, published in the early 20th century, a Marine soldier arrives in Nagasaki and hopes to, like his friends, find a Japanese woman for a temporary marriage. He says, as soon as I'll arrive there, I'll marry. Yes, with a small yellow-skinned woman, with dark hair and cat eyes. I'll make sure she's pretty. She won't be taller than a doll. He then continues explaining that he'd treat her like a children, like a toy, blah blah blah. It's also important.
Oh, no, 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 no. You're not going to do that. You're not going to do that speaking that womanese, feminist nonsense. Because I heard the whole thing like a child, and then you went this and that, and there's a yada, yada, yada. No, 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 no. If you speak womanese, you know how women think. When they want to shame you, they use terminology that triggers people that are listening, and it has them thinking, does he want this? Yeah, see, I know how to speak womanese.
To remember that during the 20th century, 85% of American soldiers who were located in Japan after the Second World War said that they had met with local sex workers. Bear in mind, it also happened in the Philippines, in Thailand, in Malaysia, in Singapore. So their first experience was based on her being a sex object and him being the almighty Westerner. Still to
See how she talks about the almighty Westerner. This is what happens when you go to war with countries. The innocent people suffer. And in the process, well, the people who make all these decisions and never touch the soil that they send thousands of people to die on, when they're done, everything else that happens after it, the innocent people suffer. So yeah, women resort back to the oldest profession, and you know what it is. So what they do, for bread, for meat, for sausage, that's what happened in World War II. They had to sell their body to make ends meet. War is disgusting, and for profit, it is what it is. That's why that's why OnlyFans is so successful. War never changes.
today, Westerners find ways to connect with Asian women abroad. As you can see in this video where the guy says that he's been writing to hundreds of Asian women in the past 5 years and has a collection of pictures of them. He says, quote, "There seems to be an endless supply of women over there." It is undeniable that passport bros are part of that very long history. Sure, women in former colonies have gained greater access to education, to financial independence, which makes them less prey to lame Western boys, but that colonial history, the power dynamics it has created in terms of economic status, the value put on whiteness as well, are still very present, as anthropologist Marion Botero showed in an article on the Thai women fantasy and the crisis of masculinity in the West. I mean, it'd be foolish to believe that because colonialism ended in Asia and Africa in the 20th century, that then all of a sudden the relationships of power that had been instilled in both the colonizer and the colonized for centuries disappeared like that. We know that being a Westerner, being white, means being privileged, and with privilege comes responsibility.
With great power comes
Great responsibility?
I was going to stick with bitches, but if you want to be a virgin for the rest of your life.
A sense of awareness of one's position in the world. Now that this has been said, I would like to look at the impact of passport bros on Western feminism. Maybe you've heard about this book, Backlash. It was written by Suzanne Faludi, a journalist, and it was published in 1991. In it, Faludi looked at all the strategies used by right-wingers as well as mainstream media to counter the advances of feminism in the 1980s. So, late second wave feminism, early third wave in the US. Side note, but I was very much inspired by this book when I wrote my book, which is coming out at the end of the year, because the backlash he describes in it is very similar to the post-Me Too backlash that we're living through at the moment. And part of that backlash includes the discourse, the manufactured outrage around the passport bros trend. When you think about it, very few people can afford to be a passport bro. You need to have a remote job that is compatible with living on the other side of the world. You must leave everything behind you, your family, your friends, to end up in a culture that you probably barely know or don't know at all, or a place where you probably barely speak the language.
No way!
Very few people can do that, and very few people actually do that.
So what is the problem here? If only very few people are doing it, then why the hell are you even making this video? First of all, I met my wife overseas. Okay, I basically was paying back and forth from here to there, having a child over there. I did it with my salary, which wasn't the best. Now it's much better. Sorry, much better now. But it's just like they speak as if they know what men are doing, instead of just talking to the men and asking them these same questions. Well, I know what I feel like they're doing. Yeah, no shit that you have to figure out the culture. I'm sorry, we don't travel with feelings, we travel with logic. So we look into what men are doing and we learn from what they do and we learn the cultures of where we go to. Men don't have this problem. We go there, we figure, real men at least, go there to figure out what's going on first, how to understand the culture and everything else, and we slowly integrate into it.
I remember when I was watching a lot of self-help many years ago, I was struck by the number of hustle bros who would go back to the US after spending a year or two in exotic countries because the culture shock was too intense. They could not handle it. What is interesting with the passport bros is the discussions it triggers in the West. Men of the men's movement have used this opportunity to tell Western women to be careful because men are leaving to find decent wives abroad.
And that's actually a lie. Those videos, those shows that people are making, those guys are talking to other men, and those Western women can't mind their damn business.
Message was then relegated by other right-wing and self-proclaimed apolitical channels on YouTube. Those people channels use the outrageous nature of that trend to push an anti-feminist agenda. In Backlash, Faludi talks about the pressure put on women to marry young and forge a family. She tells about a Newsweek story that declared that single 40 years old college-educated white women are more likely to be killed by a terrorist than to marry. That line was then repeated in women's magazines, in talk shows, in advice books, the same way the, quote, men are leaving to find wives abroad, circulated on social media. But when it was time to figure out where the terrorist story actually came from, a former Newsweek bureau intern explained that it started as a joke. It has no scientific background, but somehow someone took it seriously and it ended up on print. It is interesting to see that the article specifically targeted college-educated white women because they were the feminists that were most represented on TV at the time. They were and still are to some degree what people think of when we talk about feminists. So you see how it seeks to instill that fear in women. Like, don't...
Well, listen, to be honest, that's your responsibility. The morons who are female, who basically go along with this stupidity, you got to understand. They are making an example of what their modern day feminist looks like. The blue hair, the purple hair, the raging, and all this other stuff. If you don't say anything about it, everyone's just going to think that that's what it is. Look at BLM, the same thing. A bunch of black lesbian women who took over the whole organization from what it started off with, which was about understanding that black lives do matter. We're not going to get into the whole concept of that thing, but they took over. They were getting the loudest voices. The media and the politicians got involved. And then it became a hate group somehow magically. And same thing goes with Me Too. Me Too actually was a good organization, but the same thing. The radicals took over. The politicians and the media made it into something, and it became a hate group. Same thing with the Alphabet Mafia. I can keep going on and on about this. When you let the loudest morons speak, you have to accept the fact that they are going to make you look bad. There's nothing you can do about it except speak up about it. But don't blame everyone else around it. Blame the people in your ranks.
Become like the feminists you see on TV, otherwise you'll end up alone and lonely and ugly. I add ugly because...
And there's a lot of them that are ugly.
Back then it was also said that career women could easily develop adult acne. And you know, we regularly see people make fun of feminists, like recently Emma Watson saying that feminism ages you. I'm not going to list all the things we say to diminish feminists as individuals, but you get the idea. I mean, the backlash is efficient because it hits where it hurts. It seeks to put you back in your place, a place the patriarchal society we live in has determined was going to be yours. But if you are a feminist like me, you are working on changing the way we envision human relationships, sexuality, the family. You're shaking the foundations of a centuries-long tradition called patriarchy. And that is tough. But it's also so rewarding to be part of this project, to
They can never tell you how the patriarchy is stopping them in 2023.
see the progressive dismantlement of something that has caused so much damage across the gender spectrum, across ethnicities, across social classes to various degrees, obviously. I'm not going to pretend that those threats have never affected me. They did in the past, They prevented me from fully embracing feminism. The one that was super triggering for me during high school was the quote, "You'll end up alone with cats." A female friend of mine kept saying it to me because I wasn't really interested in dating at the time. And then my first boyfriends reinforced that fear of ending up alone for the rest of my life because they were obsessed with it themselves. They wanted to find their one and only, they lived happily ever after, as soon as possible, and transferred that fear onto me. From then on, it became an obsession to also find that right person, even though I had never cared about that in the past. I was more than happy by myself. It took me a lot of time to sort of get away from that. I need to find someone because I need to fulfill societal expectations. I need to marry in 5 years and have kids in 10 years and blah blah blah. Once I accomplished that, I was able to approach dating in a much healthier, less stressful way, lower the pressure and go with the flow, respect each other's desires and vision, and see where it brings us. All of that to say that if you personally feel threatened by the passport bros trends, by the mockery directed at feminists, the cats and everything, know that if you've made it that far in the video, you are a certified smart hottie. You've earned your diploma. And the second thing is that we will win. Those lame dudes' weapon is fear, but we are armed with love, girlies. Love, passion, anger, that's all you need to move mountains, actually. It has worked in the past. That's why they're so scared. So don't let them get in the way. Let's all have a good laugh. And also let's pray for the women, our sisters abroad, who are going to have to deal with those dudes. And finally, let's keep fighting for a better, equal world with a lot of cats, dogs as well, dogs are cute. And cows, we love cows in the video assist film on YouTube, as you all know. Just a bunch of animals running.
Yeah, I'm done with talking to you. But it was nice. It was very sweet. It was very lovely. Yeah, again, she tried to go, our sisters from overseas. Remember when they were going after Passport Bros, and we know the reason why. Because Austin Holloman started this whole new trend of making it mainstream. Not that this is new. He made it mainstream. And it scared him not because of the older guys who were doing it, but because he was the only young guy doing it, and it scared the crap because that reminds younger men that you have options, and that was what was tearing them apart. So what they did was they went hardcore on the men. When the men just didn't care and kept moving, you went to the Filipino women and all the foreign women around the world. When that failed because women like Filipina P was coming up and all the other women were calling you back and clapping back, you then realized this isn't going to work. We need to make friends with the foreign women. So that's when they started doing this. But by now, the World Wide Web, you've already ruined that because now you've already showed how you hate them. So now they know how you treat your own men. Then they saw you talk about them. So they know that you have an attitude problem with them. So when you try to be besties with them, they already know the game already. That's what this whole thing is. You idiots just don't know how to stop yourself long enough to take a break. Plain and simple. Well, you know what? That sucks to suck, but you know what? Passport Bros, we out.